Oh, yes. Well, just less than a minute to 7 o'clock. It is now 7 o'clock. Okay, well, let's get going here. How about that? How do you like them apples? It's all right. It's okay. Doesn't really matter if you're old. It's all right. I think it's okay. Listen to what I say. Oh, one, two, there. No, it's here. So, we're getting to the end of the day. It is June 7th, 2026. You know where your barrister is. Hope you have your lawyers ready. I'm suing everybody. I don't care anymore. I've had it with life. I have. So everybody's getting a lawsuit. I don't care. Whatever reason. Good enough for me. By golly. I don't think it's here. Maybe it is here. No, it's not there. So it's that's not it. It's all right. It's okay. Doesn't really matter if you're lost. It's here. Okay. I was gonna use this is as I know I haven't done a live since May 1st, and here I am. I've got pens ready. We're gonna do some drawing. As always, if for some reason, and that's Dennis Waterman with a new Tricks theme tune. I am hoping to do this relatively regularly again. Probably more than just doing it today. Probably doing it maybe another. So I might be able to do one tomorrow. Won't be able to do one Tuesday, I don't think. But I'd like to try to do some more lives and start racking these back up again. One thing, as we discussed through off and on in April and the very end of March, is I'm going to focus a little bit more on um, Florida and Florida history. Because that's what everything I keep doing is about, except I was making these lives kind of general or whatever. So let me try to tie it all in. This also is a good idea for promoting. So why not? I'm hoping to see I'm gonna go ahead and click. So if you're watching, please click the thumbs up, and I've got the chat open. Good. Okay. Um, this book is in outstanding shape. The one I first used was third since this came out 30 years ago, I think. Dwayne Kelly. Hey there. So just yes, unicorn star 438. Just hold it. No, Che White is here. Hello. Haven't seen any of your posts recently. I've been off and on. I didn't have internet here much. I mean, it was off and on for the last almost month and a half since the end of March. Had a little bit in April. 1987. I started using this in around then, 87, 89, 90 for some work I was doing because also I was doing work involving a magazine we did called Pioneer Days, and I needed this book. But I like this cover, and I don't know who did it. There's no signature, just like with Mr. White here or Mrs. White. I still don't know what you are. We'll call you Mr. White. I'll teach you a lesson. I don't know what unicorn star is either. I guess that's a lady though. Anyway, there's no signature. You got to sign, and you have to sign it so people can read it. Also, if you don't know, I'm very involved in politics. I'm trying to get this across to some of my political friends who are signing things, and you can't read what they're signing. They don't sign it. It's an easy thing. Yeah, there is nothing. Nope, no credit given to the illustrator. Nothing at all. Betty Mitzger, I remember her. Oh, and the Hilliards. Yep, no signature. And what a nice illustration. Hey, let me tell you, that ain't an easy illustration to do. Let me see you, White, draw some of your dancing uh, girls around this. It's not just that you've got the steamship. Let me tell you, that's a hell of a hard thing to draw. But trains are hard to draw too. But this with cars, and you try to draw. There's no well, we're just computers. We just I started using a Macintosh in 1985. Good, and make sure you can read it because it doesn't matter. Don't sign it. You just do an X. If they can't read the signature, why sign it at all, right? So, but this is incredibly difficult. Not easy. This is all done. This is someone who lined up things and figured out foreshortening, and that's a hell of a lot of work right there. I'm not good drawing cars, so I admire those who can really and also to render them so you know what the hell they are. Nice little piece there on the cover. Okay, I'm going to take something from this. No, I'm not taking something from. I'm sorry. I'm actually been reading a bit about my local history here in Marion County, and I'm going to take something from that because why not? Um, and this is about the Spanish land grants to the early 1800s. What a disaster! So people were given in Florida. They're given these. The Spanish were a complete disaster in Florida because conquistadors were just a complete waste of time. I keep using the word complete an unbelievable array of disaster. So one of the things that happened was that land was basically signed over to people who were under the flag of Spain. And I'm not saying it was a little lot if you're living in a little lot or wherever you're living. I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres, basically what a data center is asking for today. And it was pretty much free, and you basically were handed it. You had a grant that said you had all this land. Well, all that got undone because this I'm talking about 18 this is in the actually late 1600s through 1700s, early 1800s until 1821 when the state of Florida went from the incompetent Spanish to the much more competent Americans who took over. Uh, that then the grants were really null and void because now the U.S. had it, and all those grants meant nothing. My dear friend Linda Elwood's family had one of those land grants, and then came the Americans, and it was worthless. She owned most of the land at the St. Johns River north, up toward almost Georgia. That's a lot of land. Yeah, that's more than one county. It's huge, but it meant nothing. Then it got worse. The Civil War happened, and if you were in the South, as Florida is, after the Civil War, if you had land agreements of any sort, and there was a lot of them. In fact, the reason Florida became a state was to sell land. William P. Duvall was governor, our kind of our second, our first was Andy Jackson, our second was William P. Duvall. When our President Monroe told Duvall that he's governor, his first demand was, "You've got to get that land quartered off and sold." Florida's always been one big giant land scam. But it became even more so after the Civil War because all those agreements in the South became worthless, which was actually it was basically land was stolen from people because they had worked the land, they thought they owned the land, they'd paid money on the land, and then suddenly it was owned by it was basically just like the Spanish land grants went to the next quote unquote owner, which shows how much land isn't owned by anybody. Okay, so what are we doing here? Um, so I want to just take one thing I'm looking at here from this. I'm going to draw something about it. Like yesterday, oh, it's in the scanner. I'll post it. If you're not on my Facebook page, you won't see it. White, I think, and I are connected. I don't use threads really, but all my stuff ends up over there. Sometimes I'll peek over there. I haven't peeked over there in probably a month. Um, a lot of old Florida names are here. Broward, which would come back to haunt us horribly. I think it was the son of John, no, grandson of John Broward, William Napoleon Bonaparte Broward. That was his name, Napoleon Bonaparte Broward. What a name, huh? Um, okay, so let's do something with this. And you wrote something. I'm sorry. I'm looking at there was there's always been an effort to do a canal across Florida for hundreds and hundreds, and all of them have failed. Every single one has failed. Let me see. I've got so many little windows open here. Let me get rid of all of them. See if I can't find the one where's the window about this? Uh, uh, Here it is. Okay, thank you. No happy little trees. What do you mean? Well, we have our Well, they're talking about excavation, which wasn't easy to do in the early 1800s. So let me see that turning this into critters doing this. I think it'd be all really easy. And we had a lot of critters around at the time. A lot of the stuff involving excavation at this time was an effort to find financial wares. So what you know, well, we'll find out. I'm telling a little Florida history here about excavation in the early 1800s. So they didn't want to understand how hot it was. Very hot here, but not hot like it is today. Today we put concrete and asphalt and greatly enhanced. So I should draw his ears a little bit lower. Yeah, that's good. So imagine digging in the early 1800s. It's one reason why you'll find in our history. I got to try to make this work without penciling. This is fun. That's the idea challenge. And if you want to post something, your favorite animal, your favorite whatever, White knows how this works. I'll do that instead, but no one wrote anything. Who's your favorite animal? What's something you like to do? I'll do a drawing about that. That's what I love to do. But in the meantime, I'll just do this right here. Who's your favorite animal? All right. If this bear was digging and he would not have had gloves, would have been hunched over a bit. And I hope to be adding here more involving our history. Some fun videos coming up even this week, maybe even tomorrow. Since most of what I do involves sort of history, I need to get this to be in line with that. Otherwise, I'm drawn like everyone else is drawn. Here I have something unique. My favorite animals are rabbits. Can you name one? Pick one. Just one's good. Same with you, unicorn. You know there are no such thing as unicorns. If you haven't heard me say it before, dragons, unicorn, you draw anything you want and call it a unicorn, and you're right because there's no such thing. If you draw a unicorn that looks like if you draw that and say that is a unicorn, someone will say no, it's not, and you'll say you're wrong. And what your response is, prove me wrong. That could be a unicorn as much as it can be a um, dragon or whatever. Now, one thing is we are sand. I'm not clear. So they would have been in this area. So the sand, depending on where they were, the sand was softer or harder and possibly wet. Does unicorn corn have a choice, or is unicorn even here? Were you here? Who's your favorite animal, or what's something you like to do, unicorn? And that right after this, I'll draw that. So trying to draw this. This also makes checking me on my history too, make sure I keep up on. I'm working on a book of a fellow named Ross Allen, doing a lot of. It was gonna be a really simple little book, but it's turning more and more it is in a more toward older people as compared to younger with illustrations. Ross Allen, born in Pittsburgh, but his father was a salesman, so he traveled around a bit. I don't have my, Florida library with me as I usually do because 'cause I'm in real big need of a book of history of Winter Haven right now, and I don't. I have I have a very rare book of that history, but I don't have it with me, and I'm not sure where it is. Okay. Is, Unicorn maybe Unicorn left, got disgusted with it all. Love to have a second is there some I'm not sure who that's it. One thing interesting about Facebook, I have a better idea of who's here and not here. This is more of a mystery. Oh, there is I'm sorry, there it is down there. 3 watching. Well, if one of y'all maybe Unicorn, are you still here? Can you write your favorite thing you like to do? Hold on. I'm gonna give him pants just cause, well, he deserves some pants. How he's keeping him on, I have no idea. He has a rope tie. Of course, bears have little teeny legs. Yeah, well, what's up, what so you well, but besides artwork, what do you like to do, Unicorn? And I'm gonna be going to a school board meeting here. I'm in Marion County, Florida, and actually this book I'm going through quickly is about Marion. And while I'm at the school board meeting, I'm gonna have my drawing board out and working on some drawings. I'll probably post in the Facebook. You all ever look at that Facebooky thing YouTube has? I don't know who sees it. Somebody I know I do get some likes there, so I know it's but so you're digging into the ground to hot Florida. And there'll also be plants. So there might be like a vine connected here. And that when you're drawing, you gotta think about that. It's not you wanna tell your story, but make sure you give some background too. For example, I notice White does a lot with dancing, but I don't believe I've seen much involving a crowd or what the stage looks like. And if you don't know what a stage look like, good thing, understand that you have the platform and it's a good idea, even though it's not done as much these days, it still is in a different way, and that's you have the inset lights that go along, which is either the front stage or the gangway. And you should know all that little terminology is really helpful too. But then just really helps sell the idea the character is on a stage. I'm using black, you can use color. Just give shadow. Of course, the actual lights are like that. You can get into all that if you want to. But just that adds such a bigger, of course, there's the edges to this. Of course, if you've ever been on one of these stages, don't step the wrong way. Here's a little trick if you're drawing a stage. Pink, 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 pink. Actually, it's better to have these a little longer. Gives the idea that the stage is flat. You don't want to draw it this way, you want to do it that way. It gives a sense also that there's depth, which is so important. And yeah, these should get smaller. showing, this really helps sell the stage. And I've drawn this a lot, so excuse me, I'm doing this really fast. And there's a lip down here. Just go to someplace at the stage, you'll see all this stuff. And you won't see the lights as much over here because they're kinda hidden. A little something that would add something light to your drawings is to add the stage. Where are they? Sense of place is what it's called in writing and drawing, sense of place. And you probably heard me speak about that before. And it's just you might as well make that dark. Again, you could add a dimension here, pop, and you can add some heads. Just do circles. That'd be circles of heads, things like that. Anyway, that's a suggestion. I thought I might take up quilting, but I'm surprised. I'm sewing out good. It's funny how find so many ladies coming back to sewing and quilting. I think that's a really good thing. And it's ladies doing it, not guys still. So I want to show that there's a okay, I should pull this back a little bit. It's hard to see there's a hole. So I need to still sew that there's a hole here. So real quick, I'll add a bunny. Oh no, what were they? Just a second, rereading over this. Yeah, so they're talking about the surveys. Well, if you're dealing with a piece of land, you have to have a legal survey. It has to have a legal description. Understand point to point to point of the lot. It's not a drawing, it's written out and tells you distance of each one, and you need to make sure go out and match it to whatever is being said. You should know your lot more than anyone else, even more than a surveyor. So in 1821, they're finding the choicest land and Ware's Lake, which is now called Lake Weir. This is Temecula land. Coming up proposed ship canal. So this was an effort to do the ship canal. So we're going. This is but this was 18 later in 1821 that this effort was being done. 1830, around 1830 or so. I found some errors in this book I'm reading. And I found some things I didn't know about. Anyway, enough of that. Okay, so we'll put a bunny out here. Surveying was better done in the 1800s than today. Lingerie, floor 3, everybody out. I don't know if you can hear that bing bing. Again, they were not as hot because we had trees everywhere. Okay. I'm not violating what I just told White to do. Where are they? You are here. So there were trees everywhere. It was much cooler. It's thought that what you might find in Florida at 100 degrees today was more like 80 degrees back then. That's when you add concrete and asphalt, things heat up. It has to because the sun basically is like you're you're building a broiler. So there would have been trees, not so I'm putting an oak. I should put more pine, but okay, close enough. So this would have added some shade. Of course, if I was doing this in color, and I think I'll be doing some color here because I need to get these children's books out. I'll be working on them at the school board meeting on Tuesday, and the next week I'll be at a whole bunch of meetings. I plan on being get work done. And yeah, I was asked. I was talking to my friend Tom Hockman, and yesterday I drew on my. I'm not going to probably do Facebook Live anymore. It's just not. Thank you all for being here. Also, to make sure I say that. Whoever that is, there we go. Yeah, good. And make sure when you in New York City, yuck, and we are having a sweltering summer. Let me make sure I don't know about New York City. I know here in Florida, one place you can get a lot of sewing stuff is at thrift stores. Gosh, there's a lot. 'Cause I think some folks take this up and then find out they don't want to do it, and they all the leftovers ends up at the thrift store, and I see it. I don't get to enough. I love going to the thrift store. I'm always looking for books, but I haven't been getting many recently. I always noticing more and more of that. So look for equipment there. Also, what's interesting about a thrift store is if you find items in a thrift store, they are of specific things that you may not have ever thought about because you're thinking like white draws all these dancers. Well, what about white drawing someone who's excavating for a canal? Well, that suddenly your thinking has to change, and that actually develops you into being more well-rounded. So in something like sewing, quilting, you go into a thrift store that I don't know what you like. Let's say you like to sew unicorns. Instead, you find designs of an excavator, and now you're trying. Now you're trying to. Now, yes, you might get frustrated, lose interest, but it actually helps you understand different colors, different layouts, different ways of handling it, which makes things more interesting down the road. All this money. One thing was when you're excavating, see, back today, we have trucks that can haul out dirt. Of course, New York City is well known for. It's funny how New York City was the development area of our country at one time. There are all the stories of trying to develop everything from the Empire State Building to Trump Tower, and you had to get trucks in there to take the dirt out or bring dirt in, and they had to go through all this road nightmare to get back and forth. Well, back in the 1800s, you're hauling it in a sack out of there. It ain't easy. It's hard work. I'm not telling a story well here. I also need to make. I'm not getting this. This is why it's good to pencil first, but I want this is why I do this for the challenge. No, actually, I know quite a bit about the cross-Florida Barge Canal. I've given talks on the subject. I also have all kinds of interesting memorabilia from it too. More recent efforts. This buddy's trying to pick this up. I'm going to do the drawing of the bunny and the sewing here in just a moment. That's a hard one for me because I don't know a lot about sewing at all, except that I know the needles and designs and all. Sound like a pirate. Talk about pirates in Florida. You go on and on. I don't know if this reads well because I don't think his legs are showing up. I really need a pen that's a little more helpful than this. My pens are most of them in my car. I thought these two were a little bit more reliable than they're turned out. Hold on, let me see what this is. No, that's actually worse. Oh, it's even worse. I seem to be bombing out here with pens around me. One of my problems was I had too many. Uh, I used a lot at the homeschool convention 2 weeks ago. So what else I got here? Anything? Almost all my pens are in the car. Pencils, pencils. Well, I'll just use this then. I'll just have to keep going because you don't quit. Someone who's been performing drawing for 47 years, one thing you know is you never quit. Keep going. Might be a delay here or there. Make sure it looks dark back here. Oddly enough, I'm drawing a bear and rabbit. That's exactly what these excavators had to do. I can show better if I do this. That maybe I'll show critter out here. It's a panther. Sure. I actually like these dry brushes because I can get a little more effect from them. Not that when this was being done, there would have been probably 100 men working. No women, all men. And definitely want to get across. And these look like little, but you start off small when you're excavating and blow it out. You never know what you're going to run into. So as you start off small and you expand, you can see, we have limestone underneath us. It's very hard. And you just don't start digging. You start gradually and then you move in. You go fox. Almost done. I'm about ready to. Thank you all. If you get a chance to do a thumbs up, I appreciate it. Again, I may do a like here. Maybe I'll do one tomorrow night. I may also work on one of these children's books drawings on here because I want to get those done and out. I've got this Ross Allen project that's gotten very, doing some depth than I originally was going to do. Again, it's more writing than drawing. So they would have to take some trees down, put a tree down out here. They didn't have chainsaws. They couldn't just saw it. They actually had to pull it or push it down. And the idea of even the early barge canals or canal going across the state, going from the Atlantic Ocean to the Gulf, was that it was going to be, a good. It was much smaller back then, but the idea still was going to be it was going to be at least 400 or 500 feet wide. Later, it became a mile wide and more. Last year, I remember doing a talk in Bellevue, Florida, which was in the line of where the barge canal was gonna be. And I said, "You all would not be here right now if that barge canal happened." There were a lot of people from out of state, and I said, "What?" You know? And I won't be surprised there'll be another effort to do it again. Maybe there's, collecting it, some dirt. Doesn't make sense, but maybe it was. I was trying to give it more of a sense of activity. This is what's going on, with the little figures. And, of course, the tree line, sense of place. Um, it's just tree line. The other thing about the raw sound thing I'm doing is it's gonna be in color. It's gonna be something. So I'm gonna put some pine trees up here. There's your raw Bob Ross thing. Very simple. Put a bird up here. Okay, so this is I was thinking I know another place I have nice composition. I will leave early, keep up the good work. Okie dokie, Mr. White. 4th of July usually means mosh pit events in my hometown. What about you? Well, I'm actually part something I've been working on today. I have a whole bunch of Declaration of Independence and Bill of Rights and all that little booklets that I'm trying to get over to over at the other side of the state. I have a few hundred of them, and they're going to hand them out for an event coming up this Saturday, which is a Betsy Ross event. Oddly enough, it's about sewing. They're all going to be doing some sewing of some Betsy Ross type things, but they're having a big tea party along with that, and they're going to be these booklets will be available. Then July 4th weekend, the city of Titusville is doing a 4th of July parade, and the same location is doing a tea party. About I think it's $50 a person, and booklets will be available. It's all sold out. That one's all sold out. I know. I think this one's coming up next Saturday, sold out too. They do a very good job. Hold on, let me get over here. Lost that. Oh, here we go. Okay, let's do the next one. One thing I need to make sure I do, a little date on here. I'll forget when the heck I did this. 226, and it's 6/7. Okay. All right. So sewing and what is it? Rabbit. Now, White wrote that because I can draw. I can also draw dragons and monsters and things like that, and make them look. I do all kinds of things. I'm dangerous. Of course, White can come back and watch this another time. I usually give bunnies buck teeth, but I'm going to here because I haven't done that in a while. I don't think. Thinking I haven't been here. Let's think about the Betsy Ross thing. And my friend Roz Foster, hold on, look at this, really works hard to do events where people dress up in period outfits, which unicorn you sounds like you'd like. I don't know if they do that up there. I think they would, but that area's gotten really screwy, so I don't know. Except this would go behind this, wouldn't it? So let me see what I can do about that. Really should be behind the ears. I see White's drawings are very plain, very just pretty much line work, outline work. It doesn't get in. I like form, so I like to show that there's curvatures and things. Well, of course, I've been doing this for 40 professionally for 47 years, so that's why that's easier for me. I know how to dash this stuff off in seconds if I need to, but I don't need to. You may see some of the little videos I had where they're sped up and I go from a blank sheet to a whole drawing. I lost my ability to do that. I need to try to explore that today so I can start adding some of those again. I'm gonna put a design up here as Unicorn probably well knows. The best work done needlepoint and all in clothing is to have a design. I don't. It's makes it more interesting. Come down here. I've done this before, asking whoever's watching, should the bunny oh, I'm sorry. Should the bunny be right or left-handed? So I'm not up here now. Let me try to get a little bit better so realize. Should this bunny be right-handed or left-handed? For me, this is a challenge. It's like the old caricature days for me, which I just don't want to do caricatures. I've had it with the human race. So, but I like the challenge of making things up immediately. Boom, have to come up with what it is and how it looks. Hey, I'm not sure if anyone's still engaged enough to answer that. Should the bunny be right-handed or should the bunny be left-handed? If you have an event like this going on in your neck of the woods, you should go, especially unicorn. Find some enthusiasts for sewing, such all quiet on the Western Front. So I'll go ahead and make my own decision of this. How about that? I'm going to put a shawl. Again, thank you all for being here. I work best with an audience as I have for 47 years. I don't work, so I'm gonna not do Facebook unless someone says they're gonna have others there. I'm not good by myself like that. I got other things to do. I probably don't have these working right, but they're somewhat close. I hope to post these on the YouTube. Oh, you didn't, yeah, I didn't hear from Unicorn or White about they see that Facebooky thing YouTube has. I thank those who click the likes on my happy whatevers. It's coming up tomorrow. Yeah, I need to be watching those more. Today was chocolate ice cream day, and tomorrow is the 8th, and it is World Oceans Day. You'll see a little post from me about World Oceans Day. I will not be at an ocean, but I need to look ahead and see if I can get back to doing something I been trying to do for a long time. Okay, Dairy Month, that's milk. That's on the 9th. Iced tea on the 10th. Corn on the cob on the 11th. 12th is National Jerky Day. So if you know a jerk, hit them. Oh, it's Sewing Machine Day. There you are, Unicorn, on the 13th, Saturday, the 13th. Flag Day's the 14th. I know I'm going to be at a Flag Day thing. A bunch of friends at that. I'm going to have to see if I do a video there. Go Fishing Day is coming up the 18th. And I got a rod and reel. How about a rod? How about somebody named Rod? Does anybody really hear reel? I want to better sell this by putting this bunny in a chair. So what can I do? I could do a Dairy Month. I could do something with milk at one of the local. Actually, there's I could do some around where I am. We have TG Lee Dairy has a building here, so they do in Melbourne and a few other places. Tampa's got one too. They're still maintaining them, even though TG Lee Dairy is now owned by a big conglomerate. Was once owned by a guy named T.G. Lee. I forget what T.G. stands for now. His son Richard Lee took all that cattle land, turned into offices, hotels, and houses by our airport. And I admit I was part of that when I worked for the city of Orlando. Um, I remember Richard Lee and Cabot, and Forbes. Maybe I can do a little video over there, a little bit about milk, how important our agriculture business is. We have some very bad people running for agriculture commissioner here in Florida. They just don't have. We could use and one's a real agricultural person. He has peanut farms and he has everything. He has corn, cattle, horses, but he's done some rotten things to our farmers. Then we got a guy who doesn't know how to do legislation that's running. It's one of the worst slates I've seen of politicians. And I know our history of this stuff too. I get that line in there. So it starts to disappear. When you add line, it all starts to disappear a little bit. So your focus can be just what you want it to be. See how what I did there? Make that a little thicker. Suddenly you're seeing the. Sorry, I'm far away from the. Yeah, I'll have to see what I can do. I don't know, but world. Too bad I'm not by an ocean. You think people think that everybody in Florida is near an ocean? No, I'm not an ocean person anyway. I'm not a fan of beaches and things. And I'm a native, born and raised. I never cared for the beaches. There's a picture of me as a little baby, I think around Daytona Beach, and I'm screaming, "Get me out of here!" We'll see if I start getting into those videos. I might just drive next year to an ocean. I'll end up it might even be Daytona Beach, but I certainly could do something about iced tea and dairy. Corn on the cob day. This is actually why that's important to us. Is we're actually coming out of uh, our corn season here in Florida. It's still here, but yeah, I guess we're still pretty much into it. Let me see if I can get some corn on the cob and do a little talk about corn. There's still a lot grown here. We're still a major farm area here throughout Florida, despite the efforts of the crooked realtor builder developers. And I'm sure I could do this design better, but I also don't want you looking at all this. So when you're drawing something, you don't want someone to look at it. Don't give it a lot of detail. Try to keep it a little simpler. For example, I've done a lot. I've done a lot. I did too much here. And so what I can do is I can do this. It all kind of blends in then a little bit better. See? But here I'm not going to do as much. Maybe the tag of it comes out. There's a bunny with needles, probably not being handled right. Sorry, I'm not a needlepoint person, and apparently Unicorn left and isn't correcting me. And I'm fine. I like being corrected about such. That's the thing. I was at the homeschool convention here week, almost week and a half ago, and you think you'd see more about sewing and all from the homeschoolers, and there's really very little. I think there was when I earlier. This is my 17th year. I think there was some earlier on when I went, but these days there isn't anything that I remember seeing. Come in here and just do a little bit of this. Little sense of form. Little sense of form. And go right there. Again, we're kind of there you go. Now, when I scan this in and post it, I now become part of the whole AI stuff. Every time you post your artwork, White's constantly posting artwork. All that gets drawn into the AI machine. AI is a amalgam of things we've all done. And much like that book cover, like this book cover, there's no credit. You don't know who did it. And it's maybe lost to history. I can't believe there's no signature. A wonderful drawing. One of the tough things about this cover was figuring out how you're going to put a steamboat and a train and then this all together. And then it's a nice little, it's kind of a triangle if you see that. But figuring out how to do that, very interesting. The other thing interesting here is there are no wheels on this thing. So that's a little boo-boo. I'm not sure what was going on there, but no, and then here's this little smoke coming. It's still very well done. I don't know who did it. Sign your work, whatever it may be. Sign your needlepoint. Sign it, sign it, sign it. Have some way to sign it. All right, I'm gonna stop here. 7:54. I'll try to get this scanned and posted so AI has something to steal from. AI bad. Nothing good. Data centers worse because they actually help more AI happen. Look for hopefully I'm going to try to do a video on the 9th, day after tomorrow. I don't know how I do World Ocean Day. Um, but I wanna start trying to do some videos about these happy days. So let's see if I can pull that off. I've got everything I need. I've had everything I need for a long time. I just haven't used them, and I really want to. I'm gonna see if a friend tomorrow can help me. I'll be at a restaurant called Mary's. No, Nancy's. Nancy's restaurant. Let me see about doing a video at Nancy's. We'll see what happens. No telling. If you're wondering about the pens I'm using, these are from Pop Shelf. Yes, they're both running out of ink. I need to get more. I have some. I just don't have them handy. But these are, gee whiz, what are they called? It's all in Chinese or Japanese or whatever. Um I posted what they are before. Those zebras, and they were $2 each a year ago, and now they're $3 each. But they're very, very good, and they actually keep their ink a long time. I've used them. I think I used them both these at the homeschool convention. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you all next time. Rob Smith here, and please, if you get a chance, click the thumbs up. I appreciate that. I'm working more to try to get this channel busy again. Something always falls in my way, and then I can't do it. Let's see how far I get this time. Thank you so much for being here. Robert Smith here. Good night. Good night.